Hi everyone, welcome back to the Data Literacy video channel. I'm Ben Jones, your host, and today we're going to be talking about the second video in the Graphical Gaffes playlist or series in which we talk about common mistakes or blunders that people make when they visualize data. And today's graphical gaffe, well, this comes out of an article published by the Colorado Sun back in June of 2021. I became aware of this issue because a friend of mine, David Napoli, one of the very first people I was ever connected with in the data world. So David tweeted back then that there was maybe an issue with this chart, as you can see. So I went and looked at that article, and actually it's not the Colorado Sun who made the chart in question. It actually comes from the Colorado Division of Criminal Justice, which you can see here in this report. And there's the chart right there. Figure number 4, American opinion regarding marijuana legalization from 1969 all the way up to 2020. Let's look a little more closely at the offending chart, as David called it. So there it is. It's a line chart. Doesn't it make it look like the approval just continued to rise steadily in a very linear way over the years, over the decades, in fact? And that's the takeaway. But actually, we would be misled if that's what we thought. Because if we look more closely and we look at those dates there on the x-axis, we'll notice something very important. So do you see these dates right here? This is 1985 and 1995. That's a 10-year gap, right? But if we look to the right of the chart, almost half the chart is another 10-year gap. So a very similar size in years, but a very different size in the space on the chart. 2010 to 2020, a 10-year gap takes up almost half of the chart. So we can see that these two 10-year gaps are treated very differently by the chart. And so this is why we say we need to mind the gap when it comes to dates. And what is happening here? Well, in our level 1 course and in the book Learning to See Data, we talk about data scale types. And I think what's happening here, and it's very important to really appreciate and understand the issue, is that the department in Colorado is treating the dates as if they're just a category, but they belong in an order. There's no notion of a gap or distance between the dates, though. They're all just stacked next to each other. Instead, we believe that the dates could be treated like a quantity, in fact, in specific an interval scale, so that there is a notion now of gap or distance between the two. So I tried to put these numbers into Excel to see what I would get, and here's what I got. So Excel recommended one of two charts. The first one on the left is a bar chart in which the dates are treated like an ordinal category. They're all stacked next to each other, and there's no notion of distance or gap between those dates. The other one is a scatter plot in which it does treat year as an interval quantity. And you can see here that that totally changes the shape of the data. Instead of being a straight line marching upward, you can see it now curves upward, doesn't it? Indicating that more recently, approval rating for marijuana legalization has gone up quite faster. I went back and did a bit of research and found the original source of the data itself. It's Gallup. And their article, Support for Legal Marijuana Inches Up to a New High, pun intended, I bet, of 68%. And here's the chart that they made. They actually did treat the dates properly like an interval quantity as opposed to just a category. And you can see it still has that same upward shaping curve, doesn't it? In the original Gallup poll. Now, this isn't the only place you'll find this issue. I actually just went on the Peloton the other day and I did a little ride. And when I was done, I took a look at the data and I saw that there seemed to be kind of a bigger drop there between one day to the next. But as I looked more closely, I realized that a 1-day gap on the left is the same size as a 15-day gap on the right. And so again, the Peloton chart here is treating dates just as ordinal categories, one after another, no gap or distance between them. All right, so that's all I have for you today, but this is a really important issue, minding the gap when we are talking about dates. It's so important. If you want to learn more about that, take a look at our Data Literacy Level 1 course. The link is down in the description, or you can just pick up the book Learning to See Data, which you can find on our site or on Amazon, either way. All right, look forward for our next video coming soon. In the meantime, take care. All the best to you speaking the language of data. Bye now.